Hello, saver. Whether you're saving for that trip to the tropics or saving for an emergency, now is the time to take advantage of Wells Fargo's savings options. Wells Fargo offers savings accounts that can help you save towards your goals. So, what are you saving for? Visit a Wells Fargo branch or wellsfargo.com/save to open a savings account today.
Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC.
You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers, about hikers, for everybody.
I'm wondering if you'd go wandering with me through the wilderness and woods to where the winds are blowing free, through the darkness of the night, heading toward the morning.
Welcome to the Jester Section Hiker Podcast with the spotlight on section hikers.
And I'll spread the word and you beat the drum. We'll round up the troops and get the gang to come. And we'll leave the streets and these neighborhoods, head over the river and through the woods.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Jester Section Hiker Podcast, your premier podcast with the spotlight on section hikers, and I am your host, Julie Jester Gayheart. Let me start off the show by saying happy 4th of July weekend. I hope all of you are able to get out and enjoy your favorite trail, spend time with friends and family, and eat a few hot dogs and hamburgers over this weekend, and for that matter, this summer. There's nothing like a good old summer barbecue. As promised at the end of last week's episode, today's member of Jester's class of 2022 section hikers will be out this summer on the Mountains to Sea Trail, crossing the state of North Carolina, working on his second section hike completion of the trail. Benjy Brown, or also known as Doc when he's out blazing the trails, loves the MST and putting in miles across the state of North Carolina. Here's more about Benjy from his own bio. Benjy Doc Brown is a lifelong North Carolina resident and adventurer. Benjy completed the Mountains to Sea Trail in 2020 by paddling the Neuse River. He is 860 miles back into completing the MST again, going the opposite way as he did the first time. Benjy has section hiked from short morning hikes to multiple day hikes. He also teaches 8th grade social studies, North Carolina history, and likes to use his travels to document the history of North Carolina for his students. He has 2 children, Alexander and Hannah, 21 and 19. They are playing in the band at Appalachian State University. Benjy looks forward to many upcoming adventures and following wherever the trails lead. Once again, happy 4th of July, everybody, and now on to Benjy Brown, or also known as Doc. All right, you guys, welcome back to the podcast, and I am extremely excited to introduce you guys to Benjy Brown, or also known as Doc. And he just told me he likes wearing ties on road walks. So Benjy, welcome to the podcast. And we got to talk about these ties on road walks. What's that about?
Julie, it's great to be here. Thank you very much. But yeah, I like my Jerry Garcia ties. And I found that as I walk through North Carolina on the road sections of the MST, that people will wave to you, but they tend to not talk as long as they think I'm selling them something or moving along. And I like to talk. So it definitely saves me a little time, but I find I move along the trail faster with the ties on, and I feel better about myself, but with the ties on, and people just wave and they'll say, "What's going on?" I'm hiking, and then I get to move on, and they won't try to hear what I'm selling. So that's always good.
That is excellent. And I say that because you guys, if you could see Benjy right now, he is also a fellow North Carolina educator, and he is totally dressed up. He's got his tie on, he's got his collared shirt on, and he's ready to go. So thank you for being an educator as well, Benjy.
Yes, thank you. I do enjoy it, and I get to use the MST a lot in my courses. I teach North Carolina history, so I'm able to go through a lot of the spots, such as segment 1 with in the Cherokee and the eastern boundary of Qualla. So we teach that in North Carolina history. And so I use the photos where it walks through on the MST to show the students where that is. I use the paddle segment in New Bern for the Tuscaroraans and the founding, John Lawson, etc. So it pays off in my class as well. So I do enjoy that.
And you're middle school, right? If I remember
Yes,
correctly.
ma'am.
Okay. So
yes,
what?
Eighth grade.
Eighth grade. Okay. So the wannabe high schoolers, when they get to be, they're still eighth graders.
Yes, but they are grown. They're grown.
You're the ones that send them up to the high school and we go, oh my goodness, what happened?
Right. I know. We never hear from them after that. Too cool for school. So.
All right, Benjy. Well, let's get rolling on this. So, in the introductions, in your introduction, the listeners heard that you've already completed the Mountains to Sea Trail once in 2020. So let's start there with this interview. So you are a lifelong North Carolinian. It's obvious you love the state of North Carolina. Just listening to you talk about some of the history and what you teach your students, it's obviously in your heart and soul. So when did the quest begin to complete the Mountains to Sea Trail and walk across the state?
I guess it officially began in 2018. I was on a Blue Ridge Parkway trip and ran into a young lady who was walking it, and we were at an overlook and kind of talked about the trail. And I'd heard about the trail for a long time, hiked in Pisgah a lot with my father growing up, and cousins and brothers, my mother. And so had hiked on a lot of the Mountains to Sea Trail, or some of it, in that area. And so when she was discussing it, I said, well, that'd be a goal for me. And I kind of put it at several years. And then in November, my grandfather passed away. And then the day after, I was going to go out to the woods. He was from Wilkes County and spent a lot of time up there. So went for a walk at the Greensboro watershed trails. And that kind of put me on my first miles. And then over Christmas break that year of 2018, I completed segment 9 in a couple of days. And that was a road segment, and I loved that. And took off from there.
So just to remind everybody, the Mountains to Sea Trail, there are 18 segments. So your first segment really was segment 9, which is pretty much, I'll just say, the middle of the state. And you started off on a road section. So you've done pretty much completely the opposite of what normal people would do, Benjy. They would start in the mountains, right? So
I hear that a lot.
So, and it sounds like to me, or you told me before we started recording, you actually like the road sections. And let's encourage people that it's okay to walk on the roads or ride their bikes. So why do you like it so much? What's the enjoyment?
Well, you get to be around kind of where there's some action. And so a lot of the trail in the mountains is a lot of solitude, and which is great. I love that just the same. However, I did grow to enjoy the road sections and seeing the cars going by, people in the yards working, playing, stores going in and out, schools, churches. So just kind of North Carolina was happening as you walked by it. And that was a fun feeling. And I would talk to some people, and, you know, they were interested and never realized that the Mountains to the Sea Trail was on the road as well. And so I'm like, yes, you live right there. What a cool thing. You live right on the Mountains to the Sea Trail. And so I enjoyed seeing what was going on. I liked looking at the yards, the different makeup of the styles of North Carolina and what the people do. So I got to enjoy the road section, and it's busier. You got to concentrate a lot more, but they are a lot of fun. You can see the houses, a lot of architecture, the farms. I really enjoyed the farms and fences of North Carolina on the hike. So definitely enjoyed that.
What do you think surprised you the most? A lot of times, I know for me, I have this preconceived notion of how maybe a particular hike is going to go. What surprised you most on your first trek as you worked your way across the state?
Mostly that kind of you have to let the expectations go. So once I learned to embrace the surprise and how things would change, and that with section hiking, you can have, or in long distance hiking as well, you can have a plan, but you need to be able to adjust to that plan because it's not going to go as you want all the time. And that's especially true on the roads, whether that's traffic or high grass or shoulder differences and what the expectations are. So basically in that.
So on your first trek, did you do everything east? Did you do everything west? Or was it like a combination? Talk about that a little bit.
Well, being in the central part of the state, I live in Greensboro. I have from about to Bentonville to Devil's Garden at the end of segment 5 at the top of the Parkway in Stone Mountain, very close to my house that I could even day hike. And so I was able to have a wide swath of trail within a day that I could hike on the weekends. So I did that, and that was a lot of fun. So there was no real plan to walk east or west. If it was in the evening, I'd walk towards the sunset, and if it was in the morning,
Oh, wow.
I'd walk towards the sunrise. And so that's a benefit of section hiking, to kind of plan in the days.
You know, I never thought about that. Say that again. So go
being
ahead.
in the central part of the state and being so close, if I was hiking in the afternoon, I would walk westbound to see the sunset, and the sun would be facing me. And if I hiked early in the morning, I would walk towards the east. And so now that I've done it the second way, my second time, I'm just switching the way that I go and kind of walking in the evenings or the morning. So it gives me a good idea where the sun rises and sets and views, etc., kind of best places to go back and visit if I'm not hiking.
That is awesome. You know, I never thought of that. I never I'm so used to going north and south on trails. I never thought of that advantage of going east and west. So I'm going to take advantage of that this summer when I'm out on the Mountains to Sea Trail. So thank you for that tidbit of information. So let's go
And I really learned that. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
That walking towards Hatteras Lighthouse. Finished segment 18 at the coast with a buddy early in my trek, July. And so we hiked westbound in the evening towards Hatteras, and the sun was setting in Buxton Forest and everything. And that was outstanding. And so I said, well, I'm just going to start really walking to where the sun is. And that really worked well for some beautiful hikes.
Well, I am definitely going to take that tip. So thank you for that. So let's get to 2020 and, of course, the year of COVID. I don't know if that affected you finishing in 2020 or not, but your first round, you finished in 2020. So talk us through that.
I finished the hiking portions in January of 2020. So COVID did delay, but I did the noose paddle section with a good friend, Noosey, and so it delayed us a little bit in that, but it pushed it back to May. And so it was actually much more beautiful weather and a lot warmer than I first intended. So I finished in May. I had about 11 hikes to total, including the 7 paddle trips that were completed in 2020. So it did push me back a little bit, but being that it was a paddle segment, there was a lot more isolation. You could distance at the drop-offs. So it just delayed, getting gas and paddles like that. So that was about it.
So what made you decide to paddle portion of it? And just a reminder for everybody who's listening, who may not be familiar with everything that revolves around the Mountains of Sea Trail, you can hike it all if you want to. You can bike the road portions if you want to. And there's also paddle sections, which is what you're talking about. And remind me, how many miles is that paddle section there at the Noose?
It's 170.
That's a lot of paddle miles.
Yes, it took about 9 days. And then the Noose gets to about 2 miles, a mile wide at the end of the section at Pine Cliffs, where you get out and pick up the Nooseok Trail. So that was a lot of fun. I loved paddling the Noose. I'm glad that I chose to do that in the first time that I completed it. If you get a chance to paddle on any of it, it is gorgeous, especially north of New Bern or east of New Bern. That 20 miles going in is incredible beauty that I was really not surprised by, but it really got me. And then I did that at the sunset. So it was behind. You'd have to turn around. But that was a great time to do it in the cool evening.
So you finished everything in 2020, and congrats and bravo, by the way, and celebrated Did you know in your mind, okay, I'm going to do this again? Did you wait a while? How was that decision made?
What actually got me started back was the Mountains to the Sea. It was in September with I think we did I forget the exact year. Well, I guess it was the 45th or 44th, and we did the 30-kilometer hikes. And so
for the birthday month.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so in September, I did about 100 miles, and I was like, well, here we go. And so I've done 100, and I said, I'll finish the road part this time. And I wanted to use a lot that I'd learned and enjoy it a little bit more, knowing some spots. So I did a hike this summer from around 276 to the end at Klingsman's Dome. So that was about 6 days, and or Middle Prong Forest in that area to Klingsman's Dome. So that was about 6 days that I really enjoyed, that I wanted to spend more time on in a stretch. So I did that, and there were some spots that I wanted to revisit and complete the road segments because I do like the road segments.
You're on your second trek of the Mountains to Sea Trail. And before we started chatting here and recording, you only have 315 miles left to complete a second round. Is that the plan this summer? You just gonna get the rest of the miles in as much as you can this summer?
I'd like to go ahead and finish this summer. I do want to. I have from Klingsman's Dome to Bentonville done, except for one stretch in Greensboro that I'll finish on. I'd like to finish in Greensboro. I finished in Kinston the first time, which I think pound for pound is the best basketball town in the world, and we're known for our basketball. So I was happy to finish in Kinston. I liked it a lot, and so I was proud to finish in Kinston, and I'll want to finish in Greensboro this time. But I have from Bentonville to the Outer Banks to complete, but I finished some Outer Bank miles the other week. I did about 30. I saw a wonderful sunset on Jockey's Ridge, and that's part of the Mountains to Sea Trail that you can hit just a half mile on and get one of the highlights of the whole thing for those that don't want to experience a little bit but not hike thousands of miles for it. But that sunset a couple weeks ago was wonderful. And so I was going to go back this weekend, but one of the things of section hiking is it's going to rain. And I just won't go to the Outer Banks if it's going to rain. I'd rather see the sun. So we'll rearrange that trip because you got, like we talked about, you got to improvise, adapt, and overcome a lot in section and a lot in any hiking. But being able to adjust the plans and change them what helps me get done a little faster.
I like that. Improvise, adapt, and overcome. Well, listen, I
stole it from a movie.
I might see you out there this summer. You never know. You never know. So I am going to be cheering you on. We're all going to be cheering you on. I think it's awesome. What an amazing experience to, chat with your students on a daily basis about the history of North Carolina that I am still learning. People don't know a lot of not a lot, but some of the Mountains to Sea Trail, goes through battlefields. And like you were saying on Cherokee land, and there's just such deep, rich history. And do your students think you're crazy, or what do your students think?
I think they think it's crazy the first time, but then after they see that I kind of have something at every spot, I've also driven the byways and hit the historic sites. So I think after a while they see, oh man, this wasn't just a one day thing where he's showing the pictures. But I'll tell the story like Bentonville being the important battle before Appomattox. So, it's like, well, here I am at Bentonville, and they're like, wow, you went there? I was like, you can go there too. And so I think that they enjoy it a little bit. I know I enjoy showing them that way. So, but I think after a while they say, oh, he's legit on being what he says to that these spots are really in North Carolina, and then we'll get our Google Maps and they'll visit around the sites. So that's fun.
That is so cool. So now you have to tell us how you got that trail named Doc.
Yeah. So I like to take the pictures, but it was giving my hand cramps, and my kids had one of those things that you put on the back of it, and I didn't really like that. So I got a document stick, and they called it a selfie stick. But I was at the gathering in 2019, and I was getting a little hard time for having the selfie stick, and I'm just clicking pictures. But I link it to the Google Maps, and so I can find the location and the Bluetooth and everything. And the lady there called it a document stick. And I said, well, that's definitely what it is, because I'm not going to take any selfies with it. And then I was fortunate to meet one of the best trail angels in North Carolina, Dee, and went hiking with her and her friend Dan and Vicky. And that was, and they were like, well, your trail name should be Doc. And I said, well, that's really, I'd like that, because that was my other grandfather's nickname. And it was actually given to me like 36 years to his death. So
wow.
That meant a lot to me. And so I thought it was funny that from a selfie stick to, which I'd never take a selfie, but to that trail name, it meant a lot to me.
Excellent. And no better way to get a trail name than that.
Right. I mean, it was much better than selfie.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. No, you couldn't have accepted selfie as a
No, I was not. We would have been like, thank you. And we had a good laugh at the gathering, and then up at Stone Mountain for that name. So because then, and I get most of the questions about like, what are you holding? It's just a stick but I just go around and take a picture about every 100 yards of the trail. So.
Well, listen, I certainly am jealous of those kids in your classroom that get to see all those pictures and documented that you've been there and all that wonderful stuff. So I have to ask you, I mean, is there going to be a 3?
Well, not until I get some other things done. But I did a lot of out and backs on the second time. And so I think I'm about, if I counted, I'd be at like 100 miles. And that's the danger zone for me to say again. But I'd like to section hike the Benton Mackay Trail, Foothills, and a couple of others before I do. A little bit shorter, so that could be a little bit better for me.
Awesome. Excellent. So you're going to finish number 2 this summer, and
Yes.
then start putting in some miles on the Benton Mackay, the Foothills Trail, and who knows what you'll get into.
Yeah. I like the Pisgah 400 too. That seems pretty interesting.
Oh, yes. So the Pisgah 400, that's not part of that's the 400 peaks over 5,000. What is the Pisgah 400?
I think
what is that?
I think that one is 400 miles of trails in the Pisgah district.
Yes.
Is how it's explained to me. I just recently heard of it, and Brandon told me to get a map. So I did that, and I'm kind of checking that out. But I like going down the forest roads that you see a lot of those trailheads on, and so I think it just includes those.
Excellent. Well, that will be interesting, and I want to hear about that if you decide to do that. You guys, there is so much in North Carolina to do. You can't keep up with all the hiking. It's not possible.
You really can't.
It's not possible, and you never really have to leave the state of North Carolina. So there you go.
Best place on earth.
That's right. So as we round this out, everybody knows at any given time this summer, you're going to be out on the Mountains to Sea Trail. Close us out with, do you have any favorite places? Like, absolutely, if someone's coming to the state of North Carolina and they've got a weekend and they want a little taste of the Mountains to Sea Trail, where can they go to get it all in one bundle?
If you're in the mountains, my favorite part is from 215 to Black Balsam Road, where it picks up with the Art Loeb Trail and Devil's Courthouse. That's probably my favorite 6-mile stretch. I love the trees and the campsites, and then there's a lot of spring off. Middle Prong is across the street, so to speak, from that. So that's my favorite mountain section. In the mountain at the coastal crescent area, segment 15 of the Croatan Forest, west of Newport. That was one of my favorite hikes on the forest roads through there. I actually did a midnight hike on a full moon there, because you didn't even need a light. The moon and and the trees there. So the Croatan trees I really enjoyed. And then if you're in the Piedmont, there's the Greensboro watersheds in the fall are awesome, and Falls Lake really surprised me a lot on how beautiful that is, and 77 miles of hiking trails there, right outside of Raleigh. So those would be 3 spots to really check out.
Excellent. So tell us how we can follow you this summer on your social media.
I'm on Instagram, and it is Coffee Beans 737.
And what's the 737 so everybody knows?
It's just the best time of day, whether that's in the morning or in the evenings. In the morning, you probably get you a good sunrise, and the sun's going down about 7:37 every day. So,
wow.
But a bunch of buddies and I have always thought those were the best parts of the day.
You know what? You have surprised me a couple times in this interview, and I'm just going to take that drop of knowledge and think about that for a minute. 737. Okay, I thought you were going to say it was an area code or something.
No, it's just the best time of the morning and the evening.
All right. Well, we will leave it with that. So, Benjy, I really appreciate you coming on. I'm finally glad we've gotten to do this. I'm going to see you. Are you coming to NC Trail Days?
I'll be there. I'll be leading a couple of hikes on Saturday and Sunday.
Excellent. So I will see you there, my friend. All right. Take care.
Thank you.
I love the fact that Benjy is out there documenting for his students about the history of North Carolina, taking pictures as he goes along on his hikes, and how he wears ties on road walks. And I will definitely keep in mind as I am traveling east or west on the Mountains to Sea Trail to either walk toward the sunrise or toward the sunset. Thanks for coming on the show, Benjy. Next week, you're going to hear from a couple familiar voices to the Hiking Radio Network if you have been a regular listener to Mighty Blues podcast that releases every Thursday. They're fun, energetic, and love the Appalachian Trail community just as much, if not more, than section hiking the trail itself. Tune in next Saturday to hear more from Sundial and Fick. You can start following them now on Instagram by searching for Coach Deb 32. Just a quick reminder to check out Benjy's guest bio that will be directly linked to this episode on the Jester Section Hiker page, which can be found by going to hikingradionetwork.com. You can also help in the support and production of this podcast and all of our shows produced by the Hiking Radio Network by leaving us a donation while you're over there as well. You will see that donate button as you are looking at today's show notes and pics of Benjy. Thanks for listening. Be safe out there and happy section hiking.
I'm wondering if you'd go wandering with me through the wilderness and woods to where the winds are blowing free, through the darkness of the night, heading toward the morning light. I wonder if you'd wander with me, and I'll spread the word and you beat the drum. We'll round up the troops and get the gang to come, and we'll leave the streets and these neighborhoods, head over the river and through the woods. You're wondering if I go wandering with you, what kind of trouble we'll get ourselves into. Would it be wrong to tag along with a band of vagabonds? You wonder if I'd wander with you. So I'll spread the word and you beat the drum. We'll round up the troops and get the gang to come, and we'll leave the streets and these neighborhoods, head over the river and through the woods. I'm wondering if you'd come wandering my way. If you ever get lost, or if the trail leads you astray, the music of the pack can always bring you back. I wonder, can we wander away? And I'll spread the word, and you beat the drum. Round up the troops, and get the gang to come. And we'll leave the streets in these neighborhoods, head over the river and through the woods.
Hello, saver. Whether you're saving for that trip to the tropics or saving for an emergency, now is the time to take advantage of Wells Fargo's savings options. Wells Fargo offers savings accounts that can help you save towards your goals. So, what are you saving for? Visit a Wells Fargo branch or wellsfargo.com/save to open a savings account today.
Wells Fargo Bank, N.A. member FDIC.